Hey guys, what's going on? Pete with Auto Repair Tips. In this video, I'm going to take a few minutes and answer some emails. It's been super crazy at the shop and I haven't had a chance to get back to some people like I should. So I'm going to take a few minutes and we're going to knock a few out. Alright guys, let's get into the video. All right, first question is from Roberto Izello. Sorry if I said that wrong. His question is, need some help. I have a 2000 Mustang GT I just purchased. Turns out it has a V6 to 8-cylinder conversion. Car has no catalytic converters with mufflers. It also has a long tube headers, and the car throws out white smoke when started, and you can see water kind of coming out a little bit, but can notice it when it runs. Car to a complete stop. Smoke from the exhaust will come out way more than when it's sitting, not exaggerate. Not sure what you mean by that, but where it fills up everywhere, but you can see smoke blow towards you as you stop the car. Misfires really bad once in a while and starts running good again. I haven't looked at the misfire yet. Well, there's a couple of things we need to talk about. You need to see if you have O2 sensors. If they did away with your converters and they did away with O2 sensors, that could be some of your problem right there. I know in some states that it requires to have a catalytic converter for a state inspection. I'm not sure what your state requires. I'm not sure where you're from, but that's the first thing I would look at. The second thing is, if you're not sure if it has a blown head gasket, do a combustion test. You can go to Amazon, you can pick up a kit under $30. It's real simple to do. And that'll eliminate if you have a blown head gasket right off the bat. Secondly, you need to find out what cylinder is misfiring. And let's isolate that. Let's check to see if the fuel injectors are leaking or they're holding it. And what I mean by that is, put a fuel gauge on it, start the car, let it run for a few minutes, cut the car off, and the fuel gauge should stay steady. It's gonna come down really super slow. If it comes down really fast, you need to make sure you got a good regulator, or you could have a bad injector. You know, I probably wouldn't have purchased a car like that to begin with. It, I guess, depends on how much you paid for it. If you got it at a good deal, well, then you know you're okay. But if you overpaid for that car, you could have a money pit on your hands. But start with that combustion test and go with that. Let's see what that does. All right, next question is from Plumbing with Joe. Got a 1995 Ford F-150 with a 4.9. He can smell gas inside just a little bit, but more if he turns the AC on. Well, if you turn your AC on and you hit recycle, you're pulling air from within inside your vehicle. So you shouldn't smell anything outside, like if you have an oil leak or gas, your smell shouldn't be as strong. But if you don't hit the recycle button and you're pulling your air from outside the vehicle, well, you're going to get everything. If you have an oil leak, you're going to smell oil. If you have a gas leak, you're going to smell gas. And if you're smelling raw gas, you need to get it checked out by a professional if you're not sure what you're looking at. And if you're a smoker, I don't think I'd be lighting up any cigarettes. But you need to get that checked out. If you're not sure what you're looking at, like I said, go get it checked out by a professional. It could be anything from a broken evap canister to a bad fuel injector leaking. It depends on what type of smell you have. I mean, there's a difference between raw gas smell and just a gas odor. If you have like a raw gas smell, that's kind of going to burn your eyes a little bit. Not so much with an evap system, like if you had just a fumey smell. There is a difference between the two. All right, next question. Let's see here. The next question is from Louis Garbell. It says, I have an Audi. It's a convertible. All of a sudden, white smoke came out of the exhaust with a strong smell of gas. He's looking at Google, and Google told him it probably had a blown head gasket. Well, there's a distinct difference between blown head gasket smell and a gas smell. If you have a gas smell and you're out by your exhaust pipe, it's going to burn your eyes. A bad injector, or I've even seen a regulator go bad, it will cause white smoke to dump out your exhaust. But your engine will have a misfire, and if you're by your exhaust, it is a strong gas smell. If you have a blown head gasket, like I guess Google told you, it's not going to be a gassy smell. It's going to be a sweeter smell. It's almost like a candy type smell. So first thing I would do a combustion test, and you can eliminate a blown head gasket, which I'm pretty sure it's not a blown head gasket, but what you're saying, but you got a fuel problem. If you're not sure, Audis are kind of crazy to work on. If you're not sure how to do it, you definitely need to seek out a professional. And I would not drive the car because you could damage your engine with it dumping fuel. All right, next question. This is from Marty713. I have a 2014 Equinox. Exhaust smell in the cabin only when I'm in park. You probably, and I've seen this a lot of times, I would check, believe it or not, a leaking valve cover gasket. You'd be surprised. I have had a ton of cars come in my shop where people will take it and they'll think they have like an exhaust leak, and believe it or not, it's a leaking valve cover gasket that just slightly drips on the exhaust manifold, and it gives it that smell of an exhaust leak. Reason why you smell it in park is because when you're driving along, the fumes are just distributed out the vehicle. When you're sitting in park, they stay under the hood and you get more of a smell. If you don't have a leaking valve cover gasket, then check your evap system. It's going to be something like that. But definitely get it looked at because you don't need to have that smell in your vehicle at any time. It's not good for you or your kids if you have kids or your other. All right, next question. The next question is from Big Terrible Texas. It says, I got a neutral safety switch put on my car, and now I can only cranks up unless I do a trick with the gear stick. While the car is in neutral and move it from drive to neutral, reverse, and park, then it'll start. But when I drive the car and park and turn it off, it doesn't start back up when I try to crank it. Let's read that one again. I got a neutral safety switch put on my car, and it doesn't crank unless I do a trick with the gear stick. I put the car in neutral and move it from drive to neutral to reverse and park, and then it'll start. But when I drive the car and park it, turn it off, it doesn't start back up. You definitely have an electrical problem going on. On your car, you don't tell me what kind of car it is. Depending on your type of car, some of the safety switches, they're adjustable. Maybe it's not adjusted correctly. Again, you didn't tell me what kind of car you have, so I'm not sure kind of how to approach your question. But two things, make sure if you have a safety switch, make sure it's not an adjustable one where you can be out of sync a little bit. If that's not the case, check the pin connectors going into the neutral safety switch. Make sure that they're not corroded, they're not dirty, they're not broken. I'm sorry I couldn't answer more, but like I said, without knowing what type of car it is, I don't really know how to approach that question. Next question is from Eddie Baller. How do I differentiate between a clogged radiator and a bad pump? The hose from my thermostat stays cool, but the hose on the top of the radiator is hot. Thermostat is not the issue. He changed it. Again, you didn't tell me what kind of car you got, but a lot of cars, if you take your radiator cap off and you start your car, you should see a very slight flow through that radiator. If you don't see any flow through the radiator, you may have a bad water pump. Sometimes I've seen the fins go bad on the back and they're just crap. They just go out depending, especially if you don't use the right kind of coolant. I've seen them eat up the propellers on the back of a water pump. Also, you could take the line off the water pump, put a hose on it, put it into a bucket and start your car, the one that would pump into your heater core, and it should just dump out. It should pump out continuously. If it doesn't pump out, check your water pump. You can also take it and start your car and let it cycle through one time, and depending on what kind of car you have, because you didn't tell me, if you can reach your radiator, if you feel the radiator, the temperature should be equal all the way down. If you're hot here and cold here and hot here, you have a clog in your radiator. If you have the tool that can read the temperature, use that instead of your hands. You can get them on Amazon for next to nothing. You can just like say start the car and you can take the readings. Readings should be equal all the way down. The tanks should be equal depending if your tank is on the top and the bottom or the left and the right. I don't know, again, like I say, what kind of car you got. Take the readings on the tank from top to bottom and take them in the middle. It should be equal all the way through. I mean, you're going to have a little bit of a difference, but it shouldn't be that much. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I appreciate the emails. Keep them coming. I'll do my best to answer them, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Catch you later.